Hello, 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 lovely people. Welcome to the Ranger Show. My name is Russell Gerber, and of course back again with you all for another lovely virtual safari this afternoon. We'll be checking out what we got on the live cameras, seeing who's around, and what might be coming down to the waterhole, because you never know, of course. It's all live and unscripted. As always, we've got a great show lined up for you. We'll go through some of the highlights from the last few days and keep an eye on all those cameras to see what might be coming down. So also, if you do have any questions, anything on your mind, please feel free to pop those questions in the box below your picture for the show, and I'll do my best to get to those questions during the show today. But lovely to have you all, as always. A little cloudy around the bushes at the moment. The last few days we've seen a few clouds at most of the locations across the country, of course, where all the cameras are. So it does give us a little bit of a promise of rain at some point. A little early in the season for rain, there's no doubt about that. But stranger things have happened. We do sometimes get early rainfall, of course. But many of our wading predatory birds, like this gorgeous saddle-billed stork, well, they're not too happy when the waters arrive. Now it's a very good time for them in terms of catching prey, various fish and amphibian species, even small reptiles, some insects, things that might be struggling to find places to hide as the water slowly dissipates. Hello, Pat from Florida. Thank you for the shout out. Lovely to have you with us as always. It's been really fun watching all the waders working hard at eradicating all the living aquatic species as best they can. But not too many of them, I would argue, are prettier than these lovely saddle-billed storks. Of course, they're named as such. They've got that beautiful red and black banded bill. But if you look carefully, you'll see that yellow saddle at the base of the bill. And that is, of course, how they get their name. And if you look closely, not very easy to tell in light like this, unfortunately. But the male tends to have brown eyes and the female's yellow. And then a little bit more black on the wing for the male. In flight, you can't really see it when they're on the ground like this. So I would have an educated guess to say that this is a female, but I've been wrong before. If anyone has had a nice close-up view of this saddlebill over the last few days, let me know. Well, look at that. Thank you, Zumi. That was great cooperation. Indeed, bright yellow eyes, suggesting that we've got a female. As you can see on the close-up, how pretty they are when you do look at the bill up close like this. Now, you often see them alone like this, solitary, and of course sometimes in pairs as well. We had a youngster on the cameras not too long ago, a couple of months, I think. And they'll often use other raptors' nests, abandoned nests, to lay their eggs, keep their brood, normally on the top of a big tree or a large platform. It's seen pretty commonly in the northeastern part of southern Africa, all the way up into the Okavango Delta, all around Kruger National Park. Not as commonly seen down here in South Africa. We tend to see them much more commonly in the wetter parts of Botswana and Zimbabwe, along the Caprivi Strip as well, and of course up into Mozambique. Always nice having them on the cameras. But I think for today, let's dive into our first little highlight video while we're chatting about pretty birds. We had one that we don't see very often. If you look carefully, you will see it in the center of your screen. And let's make this your quiz for the day. A little bit trickier, but who out there can tell me what species of bird is that? As we come into focus, there you go. And we'll add a bonus question. If you know the species, is it a male or a female? Now, I can tell you that we are well into the breeding season for this particular species, which might give you a bit of a clue. And if you look at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there is a member of the opposite sex. So another little clue for you, but yeah, if you folks can have a guess, let me know what you think. What species of bird was that in our highlight today? And there's a few different kinds of them that we get down here in southern Africa. They tend to build large woven nests. There's another clue for you. But we do indeed have a few different species. And some of which we see commonly on the cameras, but they're definitely not one of these. These are, of course, our wonderful flamingos at our new camera at Camphors Dam. Not sure how many of you have been focusing and watching the cameras, but it's always so beautiful to see the flamingos together. The majority of these, of course, lesser flamingos. Interspersed with the occasional greater flamingo as well. Greater flamingos tend to be a little larger, but of course the easiest way to tell them apart is they tend to have a more pale pink bill with a small little black tip as adults, whereas the lesser flamingos, a little smaller, tend to have a almost uniformly dark bill. What we'll also notice is, of course, a few youngsters interspersed as well. The lighter colored ones, but here we have, looks like a greater flamingo on the left side of your screen there, and a lesser surrounding them. So nice example of what we're talking about. You see how much lighter the bill is. But what a treat it's been to have the new camera, having all these beautiful flamingos all around. It wasn't always so. They do occasionally move away, migrate into other parts of Africa. But many people's favorite bird species, I would say. A lot of people very popular. I enjoy watching them very much, as have I, since we've had the camera. It's been a lot of fun. And while we're watching our little flamingos, let's dive into our second highlight of the day. The lovely behavior that we see from time to time on the cameras. One of the most graceful fighters of the African wild. Yes, this is indeed a fight that we're witnessing here. But the lovely Nyala is a lover and not a fighter. And they like to settle their disputes by a quite elaborate walk-off, as it were. You can see all those hairs standing up along their dorsal and ventral sides, with the tail standing up as well on what I would assume is the dominant one between these two. Slightly bigger horns. And this is mostly how their disputes are settled. Eventually, one of them will back down. And we'll move off slowly into another part of the of the bush. I've just always been amazed at how elaborate the whole thing is. You see how they're slowly circling each other, very deliberate, slow steps. And of course, all those hairs standing up on end to make them look as big as possible and as intimidating as possible. If only all disputes could be settled this way, in a walk-off or a dance-off, I think we'd have a much happier world out there. I'm sure you would agree. And there you see, it looks like the other fella has given up. He's backing down. And all tempers seem to be dropping. Tension seems to be dissipating. And there you go. That's a Nyala bull fight. If you haven't seen it before, it's always an interesting thing to witness for the first time. We've just cut back live now, of course. We're at Tau. Our two crocodiles having a little standoff there, it looks like. They seem to be minding their own business. And VK from Scotland, hi, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Asks, have the hyenas at Nomad moved again? We did have them move. We did then relocate them, where we now have seen the two younger cubs and the two older cubs. So it seems we missed one of the other cubs that we hadn't seen, but we had some highlights yesterday where we had a look at the cubs. So I don't think they've moved off again. VK, we, as I said, had visual of them quite recently. So we'll keep an eye on the Nomad cam and I'll keep you guys updated on that. But thank you for your question. Stephanie, she says, I don't know the bird species, but I'm guessing the males are the brighter colors. That is correct. Yeah, often the males are brighter colored in the world of birds. I'm just having a little look around here at Tau. A couple of black-winged stilts, of course, still hanging around at the waterhole. Can't tell exactly what's on the other side. It looks like some coots, perhaps. And spur-winged goose. Otherwise, not too many of our large mammals hanging around today. Maybe there was a party going down at another spot. But surprisingly, not too many antelope species around at Tau today. And then we got a question from Pat as well, asking, do they actually lock horns at times? Now, Pat, in all my years of guiding, I have to admit I've never actually seen them lock horns before. But the books do tell us, and many of my colleagues have spotted it before, that they do occasionally indeed lock horns and will have a full-on physical fight. And when that does happen, I believe it can be quite violent. So they tend to avoid the fight as much as possible, I suspect. As I say, from time to time, they do indeed lock horns, and it can be pretty intensive, I'm told. But yeah, since guiding in the bush in 2004, when I first started guiding, spent a lot of time in areas with many, many Nyala, and I never saw them personally actually have a fight, the males themselves. Certainly never a serious fight, but apparently it does happen. Of course, now we're checking out our beautiful Egyptian geese. Everybody seems pretty peaceful, quiet this afternoon. This, of course, at Cat Eye. Let's head on over to Olifants River, though. I think we've got some, or had some elephants on that side. Well, let's go over there anyway and see what's around. I think they just disappeared before we crossed over. Let's have a little look around at Olifants. We haven't had a little scan here for a while. Always pretty to keep our eyes out. You never know what might come down to the river, especially this time of year, with things being so dry. I remember when working as a guide, particularly as you were coming towards the end of a safari season, when I was driving in the bush every day, twice a day. Often when you got clouds like this at the end of winter, the animals would spread out, disappear into the bushes for a couple of days. Often, I suspect, expecting rain, hoping to be in other parts of the reserve. When the rain does fall, it looks fairly threatening. As far as I know, we haven't had any rain yet, but I was actually up there in that area, well, not too far away, but just outside Johannesburg, where there was some pretty good rain, pretty early rain. Doesn't seem to be anyone around, but Pat says all the animals are sleeping in after the Fat Bear finals last night. I agree, Pat. Fat Bear finals have been fun on the Explore channel, for those of you who were wondering. Our Alaskan brown bears having an eat-off, while our poor African megafauna at the end of winter, all very much on a diet at the moment. Strict diet, waiting for the rains to come. And Richard E. had a guess at our bird species. You are spot on, Richard. Well played. There doesn't seem to be anyone home at Olifants. VK said there was a hippo around the other day. I did see that, VK. I haven't seen that hippo since. And also an elephant with a monitor on. So I'm sure you mean a collar. Yeah, there have been some around. But for now, all looking quiet. Ah, there's a baboon. And it looks like an impala as well. A couple of impala. Hanging out together. Let's go into our last highlight of the day, though. This one, a really, really special one. Caught on the cameras yesterday. Really not something you see every day. Especially in this group of animals. Now, I'll let you watch just for a second and see what I'm talking about. Another one of the great benefits of the nighttime cameras. There you see some attempted mating amongst the hyenas. Not something I've seen many times in my career, even. Really unique and special. Pretty exciting. As I say, it's really uncommon to catch it. Of course, hyena is much more active at night for the most part. And so often we miss these kinds of behaviors. If you see the other two lying on the ground, much more playful. These might be younger hyenas. Looking at the size of them does suggest that they are probably not quite fully grown, certainly not fully grown females. It can be quite a lot bigger. It looks like both males are potentially attempting to mate with what looks like a female. Many of you will know it's very difficult to sex hyenas. Not a lot of sexual dimorphism between them. It could potentially be age-restricted viewing. But it is all part of the nature. But a really, really cool sighting. And as I say, really something I haven't seen many times in my career. And the camera's just allowing us that little window into the secret world of the nocturnal animals. But everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves. So yeah, very fortunate to catch that on the cameras, and a really, really incredible sighting. We've been getting such good action on the hyenas recently, so hopefully we get to see more of these unique behaviors. Of course, we're back live now. Everybody looking very relaxed. A couple of impala hanging out. Looks like a couple of impala rams hanging out at Tembe. We've had a couple of guesses on our bird species from our first little clip. Let's show you one more time, if we can pull that up again. And I'll give you the answer while we're watching the clip. So there you go. Really beautiful species. We don't see them that often. They're not terribly uncommon. You can see the little blue waxbill running around, flying around in the background. But this is, of course, the beautiful red-headed weaver. So well done again, Richard. You got it spot on. You can see the little yellow edge on the wing feathers. They've got a grey back. Nice identifying feature is that slender orange-red bill. You can see in the foreground there is a female as well. It's that little orange-red bill with a yellow head. And the males, of course, a scarlet red color in breeding plumage, and almost lemon yellow in the female. So that was indeed red-headed weavers. We're back live now, of course, at our Care for Wild cameras with our beautiful rhinos. Everybody looks pretty hungry. Just looks like we've got some fresh hay being put out there. And I don't know if any of you have been watching the cameras, but they're so playful. They can really be fun to watch, all the rhinos. If you stick around with them long enough, you'll get to know all of them. They've all got different characters. All their bottles are labeled as well. But of course, if you'd like to check out what's happening on our Nomad Cam, Rosie's Rock Cam, Naledi, a couple of other cameras. Please do consider joining us as premium subscribers. It really does go a long way into keeping the whole operation going, and of course allowing us to expand into different areas, different regions, and share some of the amazing conservation work being done across Africa. But for now, folks, unfortunately, we've run out of time for the Ranger Show. It's been my pleasure, as always, hanging out with you. And I hope to see you all again next week, at the same time and same place. In the meantime, if you want to check me out, you'll find me at Russ the Ranger on Instagram. But until next week, from all of us here at the Africam team, it's a warm goodbye, and we'll see you all again very soon. Cheers for now.